Jesse, if there is a God, is it possible that evil is not just something that, has to be permitted because of free will, but is really necessary in a world that has this big picture that God wants?
The first possibility that comes to mind for people when the question of evil is raised is the possibility that, well, that's just a result of human beings making the choices that they're given to make. That they have this option and they sort of are falling into evil, and God lets that happen. I guess I'm more provoked by the possibility that God might consider evil necessary somehow to the overall goodness of this creation that he has, after all, decided to actualize. And so then the question is, what sorts of things could make evil, on the whole, positive in some way? I think one of the really intriguing possibilities here, just hinted at over the course of the history of Christian thought, is the question of whether somehow it's good to be redeemed from something. Is that better than just kind of being pretty good or innocent all along or something like that? Is there something superior about having been raised out of the muck and mire? I think it's not unreasonable to say that God isn't really doing anything ultimately unfair to human beings if, on the whole, at the end, there's something sort of positive about the shape of that life.
Well, but a large number of people, that's not true. There are millions, if not literally billions of people whose lives start out bad, get worse, and then they die.
Right.
Do you need an afterlife ultimately to justify the evil in the world?
I think you do. I think it's hard to see how you could make that all work out if you didn't have some kind of conception of an afterlife where God makes things right.
And is not God responsible for the individuals as well as the collective?
If the traditional conception that God is love is right, why would God just aggregate things? That's not what we think of as what a loving parent would do. And so I have the same intuition about God, that God would have to care for the good of each individual.
So what we're saying for sure is that for evil to exist alongside a real God, we need an afterlife. I mean, there's no getting around that.
Yes.
And if I could prove to you there's no afterlife, then you would have to conclude there is no God because of evil. Is that fair?
I think that might be right. It's much harder for the theist to come up with explanations for what's going on with all the evil in the world if there isn't more to the story.